join in. So, hi everybody. I'm Victoria Alexander, and I'm the owner of Realty Collective that I've had for now 21 years this June. And I'm going to do a couple of housekeeping items. There is a chat at the bottom. You can jump right in. Since it's just you, Lizzie, you would just say, raise your hand and say, hey, can we ask a question? I'm happy to do that. I feel like that'll make this fun and interesting. We're going to share a bunch of relevant links and the recording after this. So if you can't make it, or any of your loved ones couldn't make it that are part of your decision-making process, you can share this along with them tomorrow. It'll also be on Spotify if you want to just listen while you're driving. And then we'll send you the Realty Collective's Buying into Brooklyn ebook. It's a couple hundred, not a couple, it's a 100-page, little Bible of these are the basics. But, we're here for you. So you don't need
Good
to
resource.
even, yeah, we're here. You don't even need to read the Bible that I wrote. But some people are neurotic and want to have the Bible. So I made it for those people. And just one other thing, we have a women-owned business blog that we like to feature small businesses. So if you know somebody that should be featured, please have them reach out. And like I said, I'm Victoria Alexander. I'm the founder of Realty Collective that I founded 21 years ago to defy the stereotypes associated with real estate brokers, because there are many. I'm not going to, I have a whole song and dance, but since we're already cutting into time, I'm going to let Michael first go first. Michael
Hi,
Motion,
Lizzie.
take it away.
Right, Lizzie. Like
This
a
will go on
personal.
YouTube later, so it'll be the Lizzie episode.
Okay. Hi, Lizzie. Nice to meet you.
And the
Um,
7-week-old baby.
so, thanks for taking some time. I'm Michael Moshan. I am a real estate attorney of this crew. I've been practicing for on and off for 25 years, residential real estate, cut my teeth. In the 90s in Manhattan, and then started doing a ton of work in Brooklyn, condos, co-ops, new developments, um, single family houses, and um, love, truly love what I do. I'm a solo practitioner. I don't have a paralegal or associate working with me. It's the last thing actually that I would want. And I am uh, thrilled to be with John and Victoria and I love these buying out of Brooklyn. Actually, Victoria, it was Victoria and I back in the day, um, starting the Buying into Brooklyn series back in Williamsburg and Brooklyn Brewery. Always makes me think, Victoria, of like those live events, which are like some of my favorite things I've ever done in residential real estate, aside from closings, of course. But those were the days, man. So anyway, I'm happy to be here. And Vic, thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Thanks for Michael. John, take it away.
Yeah, sure. So I'm John Lundholm. I am a mortgage specialist with a mortgage broker, Quintessential. And I like to think of my role as helping folks navigate the madness that is buying real estate. It's an incredibly emotional experience. It's ties up so many different aspects between your image to the world that is your home and your finances, and you're throwing around your life savings, and everybody's picking over every piece of you. So I like to keep that in mind and make it as enjoyable an experience, and handhold folks through it and really put in the time and make sure to answer all of your questions. And so I've been doing this for 20, 25 years, and the one thing that's always consistent is that nothing's ever consistent. Everything changes frequently. So having the right experts is absolutely critical. And that's part of why I'm happy to be on this group here. Victoria is an expert, as you will find if you flip through her book or have a conversation too with her. And then Michael, obviously, the experience is goes without saying there too. So have the right team, lean on them frequently. It's the only way to do it.
Welcome, Courtney. Thanks for joining. We just got started. We started a little bit late because of the access. So I'm glad you found your way here. Okay, thanks guys for introducing yourself. So like I said, I'm Victoria, and my job is your real estate agent, right? So when everybody, loves to go on Street Easy, but what you really need is somebody to help you figure out and navigate Street Easy and navigate the buying process and hold your hand and coach you. My job really is not to find the needle in the haystack. We can do that too, but it's really to make sure you get out of your own way. You don't let the emotional feelings that are associated with buying help you rule out your good judgment, and make sure that you're not making any missteps. There are some things to look out for. This is not scare tactics, but you do want some expertise at your side to make sure that you're asking the right questions. You're making sure that the contracts have the right terms, that, people are addressing the things that need to be addressed, and they're not like, oh, this person has never done this before. Let's skirt the issues, because that happens. So that's why you need a me, and a John and a Michael to make this all work. So these are the three people you need to buy an apartment or a house in New York City, in my opinion. You might need some other people like a contractor, or you're going to need an inspector. Sometimes you need an architect, and those are sometimes, but you always need a lawyer, a mortgage broker, unless you're buying all cash, and a real estate broker. And so these are three people. I like working with a set of team people that are generally, we do a lot of deals together. So there's really great rapport. We're always in contact, and we're making sure that your deal is serviced and making sure it's moving forward at the pace it's supposed to be, because we're accountable to each other. So that's why it's important you pick people you like and trust. So interview them. It's really just so important that you like talking to these people, because you're going to spend a lot of time with us. And so you want it to be a good relationship. Um,
Yeah. And I'll say, just touching on the expertise thing, randomly, I've seen this past week a couple of TikToks of people telling stories. It has just started to go viral a little bit of navigating some really wild real estate adventures. And I sit there and watch them and I go, oh my goodness, who is advising these people? Because everything they're saying is wrong. And I just feel so bad for them. But it makes it really stand out, the difference between kind of finding your own research or not having the right team and not getting the right advice because they're just taking one misstep after another. And that's part of the entertainment value of the narrative, but it is has really been bringing it into sharp relief for me lately.
Yeah, the team is so important, and I know that I touch upon a couple really strong points, you know, in during this process. But you don't want to pick anybody that, like, they just got their real estate license, right? They just started in the mortgage industry. They're like, oh, I lost my job. Let me get into mortgages. Or they're just out of law school, and maybe, they're your friend, and they're like, oh, I want to help out so and so. You also don't want to hire somebody that real estate isn't their bread and butter as a lawyer. As a lawyer, you want someone that's doing their real estate every single day. They're not doing divorces. They're not doing, criminals. Like, you want somebody that, like, that is an important aspect of it. And you want people that are seasoned. Like I just said, I'm doing this 21 years. You want people that have been doing this a long time. They have been through this, you know, rodeo. I'm trying to think of a better analogy right this second than besides rodeo, but they've been through this so many times. They know when things are going to buck, right? They know when things are going to, like, go left or right, and how to curve and go around them. People that just are getting into this field, you want someone with a lot of experience under their belt to help guide you, because they're prepared for any situation. So those are some of the advice things about the team. The team is really important, because our jobs really is, like, we all know real estate is stressful. My job is literally to make it as least stressful as possible for you, and a smooth and happy transaction, so that, like, you don't feel any, if there are stressors, you're not feeling them. We are handling them for you, so that you are only focusing on, like, the things that you have to do and the rest of your life, because we already know this is the biggest transaction in many people's lives, and it's already so anxiety filled for so many people. So let us do, that's why it's important you have good people, so that we can protect you and make sure that it's a smooth transaction and a not stressful, horrible. We've all heard, I mean, horror stories for real estate. I don't have a lot of them, hardly any, honestly. So I feel like like, I've made out pretty well, but it's also because, I pick other deal, like, the people that I work with are really great. And then they listen and don't make things more difficult. Like, I don't work with people. If you're not going to listen to me, then why are we working together? It's my whole job is to, like, help you not make this more stressful. And so you really, I've not had a lot of, I've heard horror stories though. And I've heard other buyers, like, before me, and the other thing about that, who you pick, is don't let Zillow or an online platform that someone's paying to get in front of you pick your broker. Vet people. It doesn't have to be me. I know Michael and John are like, it's me, but I'm like, just don't let the internet and an algorithm and AI choose who you work with. Make a conscious decision of, with intention about who the right person is for you. And I'm okay if it's not me. I just don't want you to go through that stressful experience of letting somebody, that shouldn't be advising you advise you. So the first thing now that we figured out the dream team stuff, because that's where you start. Don't start on Street Easy. The first thing I like to talk about is why buy now? Well, buy now because the rent is too damn high. Oh wait, I have to go to the next
You gotta
slide.
go slide.
I'm in charge. I forgot I'm doing four jobs, So the rent is too damn high. You get to make your own design. It's a long-term investment in yourself. And you're building equity while you're investing in not paying, you're paying somebody's mortgage. It's either your landlord's or yours. So figure out who you want to be investing and supporting and believing in for that future. And so that's one of the reasons. Also, to be in control. There's so many things that are out of control right now in this world. If you can control something and be in charge of something, my own property, you get to figure out what paint you have on the walls and what happens. Like that is really empowering, I feel like, and feeling like, you're still participating in society. And then we have this little rent versus buy matrix, which I'm going to send a link out to you tomorrow morning, because since my assistant's not here, I can't put it in the chat and talk and go through the slides. But there'll be a little rent to buy matrix that we'll send to you tomorrow that helps you put in, a lot of people, if you're in a rent stabilized apartment, maybe buying isn't right for you. And I had somebody put in an offer this week. They're like, we're only going to move. We get at this number because we can't give up our rent stabilized apartment. I'm like, I totally understand. And we're going to try. But there was 8 other offers over asking, and they offered asking. But that was their boundary, right? This is the number that they felt like they weren't going above. They'll wait for the next deal to come along. Okay. And then, okay, I really talked about your team a lot already, so I don't really need to go back into it. Like I said, you might need a contractor. You're going to need an inspector, definitely, to come make sure what you're buying is in good condition and not falling apart behind the walls. But you're definitely going to need an attorney, a mortgage professional, and a real estate broker for taking the next steps. So, and then once you have your team, that's when you start talking about financing with your team, with your mortgage professional. Do not go on Street Easy. Do not go on Zillow and just start searching. And then don't go to open houses without figuring out, you want a pre-approval in your hand, from my experience. So I'm going to let John talk to you about the finances.
Yeah, and just to throw one thing out there too, we're kind of breezing through a lot of stuff. There are a million and one permutations of the process, and New York, one of the other reasons I tell folks, don't try to Google everything, and even don't even try to chat GT everything, because New York operates differently than anywhere else. There's a couple of places, New York, Hawaii, Texas, Maryland, that are just different from the rest of the country, and New York most of all. Maybe Texas, but you really need to talk to someone who understands New York, who knows it, because it's not, you can't find a lot of the information if you dig hard enough, but you might not know the questions to ask. So there's a lot of unknown unknowns. So just throwing that out there. But as far as the financing, the pre-approval, in the loan process, the general flow is that you want to start by just running the basic numbers. And so what I'll do with folks is I'll sit down, I'll walk through the loan application, I'll have you fill out some information for me or walk through it with you. And then we'll do a soft credit check so it doesn't ding your scores. There's no cost to it. There's no commitment or obligation or anything to it. It's more of just an information gathering and doing an upfront analysis where we can figure out what's a good price range for you. What are your payments going to look like? How much are you going to need to come out of pocket for? And really get a handle on where do you need to be in the market and purchase price, and where can you flex and move a little bit if you find the right property. What does that consist of? Income, assets, credit, and property. I won't go into each of those. We can certainly have that conversation. Give me a ring anytime, and I'm happy to walk through that for each individual person. But basically, you need to have a good history of paying people back. You need to have enough money to make the transaction happen for the down payment and the closing costs and everything. And you need to make enough money that you can pay the bill going forward, because a mortgage is a loan against your income. People think of it as a loan against the real estate. It's actually a loan against your income that's backed by the real estate. So each of those pieces, the income, assets, credit, and the property, have flex, and there's trade-offs. So you can have credit scores that range from 540 to 820. There's just different things that you can do at each of those levels. The higher, the better. You can put smaller down payments. I was just looking at a new doctor loan that we're doing that'll do 0% down up to $2 million for doctors. You can put 20% down as kind of the gold standard. 25% is pretty common too. Certain building types, co-ops will require a certain down payment. So each of these pieces moves and has options, and it's all trade-offs and where do you get the best structure for what you're looking to do and what's the best fit for where you're looking to get to. So that's where the pre-approval comes in so helpful, is that it gets everything laid out in a nice, clean, crisp way, and then you understand where you're at, where you can get to, and what moves the needle in any different direction so that you have a really good handle on your search before you get out there.
Yeah, because
That that doctored loan sounds sweet.
I have
Yeah,
somebody, I'm wondering if they already bought that I haven't talked to in a couple months that you should
it's
talk
actually,
about.
it's just top of mind. I was just looking at the other, not to go off on like a product
No,
tangent or whatever, but
go off
it
on the
was
tangent. It's fine.
it's really it's 0% down up $2 million, and a lot of them are very restrictive on who they'll do. So sometimes it'll just be MD. This does doctors, nurses, veterinarians, podiatrists, dentists, um, residents. It's very broad and interesting. Now, it seems like a riskier loan doing zero down payment, multi-million, but statistically, doctors and nurses and whatnot are some of the best performing loans. Um, Again, not to nerd out too much, but it's just one of those things. Every now and then something comes across my desk and I'm like, wow, that's pretty interesting.
Um, yeah, I think that's really interesting. And also, like, I mean, the products just changed on such like when Tina bought, she bought a like no income verification loan, like products. So
Yeah,
just like tons of different things. Like I only did 10% down. I had to pay PMI, and I was a co-purchase with my family because I was scraping it together, but I did it. I'm so glad. Like people ask
yeah,
like, oh, how do you feel about buying? I'm like, I just tell everybody I've owned my house now for 16 years. I'm going to tell you guys, I pay less than almost every apartment I'm currently have on the market for rent that I've had in like the last year because the
yeah,
rents have just gotten so insane and my mortgage has not changed, thankfully. And I'm halfway through it. So
yeah. And I'll throw
go
in one
ahead.
last thing. On the one of the big benefits of a mortgage broker versus going to a bank or going to even a mortgage bank is that some of these things, like the doctor thing, or we have a lot of self-employment structures, there's a world of different opportunities in the lending space that allow us to really custom tailor things. And in the mortgage broker space, we're not bound by one set of guidelines or one set of rates. We're working with dozens of different lending institutions, and we're shopping around each individual scenario to find the right fit for that person to really get them where they want to go. So it's just a much more flexible structure. And there's a lot of things that you may not even think that you could do, or you might not even know that you could do, that I might be able to
Right.
take care of for you.
And I want to say a couple things that people don't think about when they think about this part, which is you cannot go on Rocket or Quicken or any of those things. That is a national platform that does not understand the intricacies of New York City real estate. Co-ops, what's a co-op? So when John is saying that, and also people all think like, oh, well, I'll go to my bank. I have my money there. Shop around. You want to, and talk to John. Like he is really coming with some great products for people, but you want to talk to your bank. But when it
Yeah.
push comes to shove, he's going to be able to offer you things that they can't, and you want to have the options to make sure you're getting the best deal. So you and the best terms that work for you, because it's not always just the best deal. Oh, I'm getting a great rate. It's there's lots of other things. How long is the lock? Is how long is the extension to lock? If you can you unlock and relock? Like there are, and I know don't expect everybody to know this right now, but I have it's
How
in the book.
flexible are they?
And we can, yeah, and we can talk more in depth of this, but you want to make sure what the terms are, and that's a really important part of it. So,
Hey, John, how's Quintessential with their rates compared to the big banks these days? Are you guys matching up?
We're pretty much always competitive. There are certain things that the banks might beat us on, but usually it comes with some trade-offs. And it's for the most people, most things, we're usually, I find at least, coming out ahead. because we're, again, not bound by one set of rates. So it's not that we're in or out of the market on a given day or on a different loan structure. I might have 30 different potential outlets, and one of them will be awesome on that particular day, or 10 of them will be awesome. And then you're making your selections on a bunch of different factors. But yeah, like
Cool.
Victoria was saying, also rate is what everybody's sort of conditioned to decision around.
Yeah.
And while I usually am saving people money, and there's even some studies and things that you can find that mortgage brokers typically save people money overall, versus banks and direct lenders. Uh, Even with that, I would say don't pick me based on that. I'll get you a great deal, but also I will make it a different experience for you. And especially in New York, where there's so many unique things with on or about closing dates and co-ops and the negotiation process on the contract. And it's so many different things that are really, really different, that it's not even just how you start the loan. It's at all these different inflection and pivot points through the loan. You need to be making certain decisions and having the right information to make them well.
Cool.
I agree with all of that. And the thing about those Rocket and Quicken things is you don't really deal with a person. You want a real person that really intricately knows, what's happening here on the ground. And that's it, especially with co-ops. Co-ops is, it's a lot of heavy lifting. So then now that we have figured out that great, you talked to John. John's like, yes, I can get you a pre-approval. This is how much you can get pre-approved for. And you understand not only what you can buy, but then what your monthlies or your comfort level is for your monthlies. Because people forget that like some co-ops it's $500 a month, some of them are $1,500. That's a big range. And if you don't feel comfortable and if it's going to push your debt to income ratio to a certain capacity, it might be an issue for the co-op. So we want to understand what your monthly capacity as well, not just your purchase capacity. So then we go, oh, you're ready to buy. You got pre-qualified. And then we talk about your timing. Like some people want to wait their lease till their lease is coming up in 6 months. They need to move now because they are on a month to month and their landlord's itching to re-rent their apartment. Like I just talked about, the budget is not just how much you can purchase, but what you can spend on a monthly basis. And then, your lifestyle. Are you somebody that runs every day and you want to be next to Prospect Park and you need to be next to green space? Or do you want the commute is the most important to you because you are spending an hour going to the Bronx from Brooklyn and you don't want to leave Brooklyn because you love it so much, but that's your lifestyle. So you need to have things subway right out your front door. So things we talk about. And then yeah, Michael, you want to mute yourself just a little bit? And then once we figure out, okay, what are the parameters? Then we start talking about the actual home, right? What neighborhood? And the location, then I'll say, oh, you want to be in Williamsburg. Well, what do they have a lot of in Williamsburg? New construction. So if you want a doorman with pre-war details, but you want to live in Williamsburg, we might have a problem. So we have to figure out how to make sure that everything aligns. And that's, with the amenities and the typology. So if you want a lot of pre-war details with the doorman, you're probably going to want a co-op. And in a co-op, you're going to look at Park Slope, Prospect Heights, maybe some Prospect Lefferts Gardens. There are only so many neighborhoods that have co-ops in Brooklyn, maybe Brooklyn Heights, right? So those are the then conversations we have. Then that's when we set up your search, right? We go online, and where do people go? I feel like there's stuff happening in the chat, but I can't do it all. Lizzie. Um, uh, Going back, that was for 512. I'm not good at monitoring the chat and giving the thing. So then where do you search? I like Street Easy. I'm also starting to get into homes.com. I feel like that's a really good platform. We have a back-end database that will make sure you get everything. I would say it's not as pretty and as user friendly as some of these other platforms. And I know homes.com just got this new, very like AI specific search criteria that you can plug in to get down to certain things. I'm interested for someone to test it out deeper than I have. Okay, and so then we start looking, and you're gonna call me. We're gonna set something. You're gonna say, "Here's a list of places I want to see." That we're gonna go out the first day. We're looking at a ton of stuff. So that because if we can see a lot of things all at once, then we can try to figure out. Okay, looking on the internet, moving forward, we're gonna be like, "Oh, I saw something just like that last week." You're gonna know when to go and when not to, and not waste your time looking at stuff that's not gonna work for you. And Then what happens after that? Then after we set up the search, you'll just start, if things come in that you want to see them, you say, hey, I want to see this. This is when I'm available this week, and I'll schedule everything. If you want me there, I'll be there. If you're like, I have a 2-year plan, I hope that you don't want me there every time for 2 years, but we can work on it. I want you to feel, comfortable and supported, especially in the beginning, and making sure you're asking the right questions and understand the process. So out the gate, I'm happy to be there all the time. But if you got a long road ahead, then we'll figure out. But and then you just tell my assistant, hey, I want to go to this open house. They'll register you, and I'm getting there by bike. Can you make sure that there's enough time for me to get different appointments by cycling there? And they'll set everything up and then send you a Google Calendar invite for everything. Remind you the next day, tell you everybody's info, so you're all prepared and have all the details in front of you. So that's the searching process. Okay, so say we did all that, and we finally found a beautiful South Slope pre-war co-op, and you have been looking for a while, so you know that this is a deal. It's slightly under market, so and you've already put in other offers. I always encourage people, like, let's get an offer in or two for, say, your B or your C apartment. Don't wait for the A1 to come around, because once the A1's around, you have 7 other people that might have already done a B and C property, and they're a little bit more prepared than you are. So you want to get as prepared for your dream place as possible. So
One quick note on that. I don't know that everybody knows, in New York, when you find a property you like and put in an offer, that doesn't mean you have to buy it. That also doesn't mean they have to sell it to you. Even if they accept the offer, that doesn't mean you have to buy it or they have to sell it to you. It's
correct.
not until you're in contract and both sides fully sign it. So you could put in 10 bids and some of them work, some of them don't. And maybe they come back to you and you don't like the terms that they propose. You're not locking into anything. So I'm a big proponent also, Victoria, of bidding a little bit more freely.
Yeah, get an offer in there. I'm sure Michael has something to say about it. Michael,
Yeah, it's serious. John throwing offers around all over the place, huh?
Well, I mean, maybe not 10, but but sometimes I'll see people who are waiting to find that one perfect place, and waiting and trying to talk themselves into the offer and figure out the structure, and it's
you want them
not.
to have the confidence. You want to feel empowered and
Yeah,
educated and like ready for the right one. And I understand, that you got to at least get one out the gate, so that you're like, okay, let me test the waters. Let me see what this feels like. Like new things are, right now a lot for people, Michael. You can't just be like, okay, I'm going to throw you in the deep end.
Yeah, I just would say that like offers are serious when they're accepted,
Right.
and then everything gets real. So,
yes,
it's
But
cool
I
to
would say that
throw.
I'm not the people that are putting their first and they're putting their toe in. I'm encouraging, like, these people that just put their first offer in this week. There was 8 other offers, and I talked to the broker. It's not like I'm not talking to the broker and saying like, okay, what are their odds? Like, and if they were really going to get it, I would be like, okay, well, you guys might win this. What happens? Like, I would then talk people through that scenario. Like, okay, so guys, like, we might win this bid. What are we doing if we actually win this bid? Are you going to buy this apartment? And before we put this offer in, you need to think about what step 1 and 2 is after your offer is accepted, before I'm comfortable doing that, to know which way we're going to go. Because also, people's lives are crazy. Like, might not be able to talk to them until they're both out of work together. Like, there's a lot of preparation and setting boundaries and expectations about like what happens next, so that people feel like they understand, and that they just knowing makes people more comfortable with everything, right?
yeah,
So I think that that's just part of the conversation that needs to happen.
yeah. And to throw just a little more color, Michael, on why I was saying about the accepted offer, I 100% agree. When you're getting to the accepted offer stage, you're in serious negotiation saying, I want to buy this place. They're saying, we want you to buy it. But technically speaking, and I've seen it happen a couple of times in the last year or two, even if you have an accepted offer, they can still pull the deal. And so I'll usually advise people, when they get to that point, to move expeditiously. Do not skimp on your due diligence. Do your due diligence, but just move quickly. Because in theory, if someone else comes in that weekend and throws another 100 grand at the place, they could take it.
Right. And just understanding that it's not done until everybody signs
And
and
that's a
due
New
diligence.
York thing.
Yeah,
Very
very New
different.
York. Yeah, very New York thing. because otherwise people, and that's why brokers are so important here, because in some places you don't even need a, like in California, you don't even need a lawyer. The real estate broker is also your lawyer, which scares the crap out of me. I'm like, I don't want that person to be the same person. That just seems like, I don't know. Everybody should stay in their lane in my mind. Those are two different lanes. You have to be good at contracts and also good at sales and people like you. So,
Yeah.
Michael, could you go do sell houses out in California?
I would do fine on the lawyer part, but having to get along with people would be very difficult, I
You're very charming. What are you talking about? I'm personable. It would really be the hey, buy this house, you know.
think.
You want this $1 million listing? Yeah, I was talking with somebody about the weird now the like brokers' jobs have changed so much. Like now there's a job where you can just be like a TV character where you like, you know, and that's your job as a real estate broker, which was gross to me, but it was a very strange conversation. And interesting just the evolution of people's jobs and how much the world is changing, and even AI is doing that even in our industry, but not for people don't trust robots to tell them to do some of these things, I feel like. And so I feel like really good about what we do here. So now that we've been searching, right, and we have actually found a place that you want to put an offer in on, and you actually love it, you don't want to just put your toe in, you're like, this is the one, right? um you and I will have a conference. I will also touch base with the broker and I will talk to them about what the sellers are looking for. And it's important. I feel very strongly, because this strategy seems to work. There is a mental, psychological part to it, is getting your offer in first. Sellers feel really like you pull on, if you're first, there's some sort of emotional attachment that happens. Obviously if it's not competitive, then they're throw that out the window. But if you're listening and I'm getting you where you need to be to get that property, then being first and having a strong offer is going to really help you win the bid. um, you need a cover letter, you need something called a submit offer form, and you need that pre-approval. And you want to know at this point, if we're putting in offers, you want to know who your lawyer is also. So you have already done your homework that I say to do on day one. Some people do not listen and then scramble. And I say you will feel much more comfortable if you have called 2 or 3 lawyers and then said, Michael's the lawyer I want to work with. And so when we put in your offer, that sheet is his name is already on the sheet, because that also gives faith in the sellers and the brokers, because it's not just the sellers you're convincing that you are the right buyer. You're also convincing the other brokers, oh, these guys know who they want to work with. They've already been in the market a while. They're prepared. They've got their pre-approval. Everything's done. I know that they're going to be good buyers. And the other reason they know that they're going to be good buyers and it's going to be a smooth transaction is because you're working with me and I know most of the other brokers, and they're like, oh, we've done a deal with Victoria before. We're going to pick her bid because we know that she's not crazy and she's going to be reasonable and understanding. So if there is a problem, like a deal just happened in Red Hook that I was not part of, but it fell apart because of pipe burst, and you want to be with the people that are going to be level-headed and problem solvers in that sort of situation, and not the people that are trying to make everybody's life upended. And what happened, that deal fell apart, and it's hard to move past something like that, but that was probably the right move. But when things do come up, are they figure outable, or are they something that's going to derail everything, and you're going to, even if you still wanted to buy it, you might not be able to anymore? Or are they going to make is it going to make everybody's life a living hell? Because I have a lawyer right now. Oh God, Michael, and it's just totally insane. I can forward you the emails. You know who the lawyer for our buyer is, like, is it Naomi? Um, it's a woman. I'm forgetting her name right this second, but she's like so level-headed. This guy is being such a jerk about every single thing in the contract, and all the brokers are on a chain separate from and with the lawyer that's on our side and not their lawyer, like bitching. Even the sellers broker is just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, guys. I told the seller to pick somebody else from my list, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So
Vic-
that can make things.
Victoria, just
Go ahead, Mike, John, and then Michael.
so I was just going to say, this is also one of the places where sometimes I'll get people saying, do I need a buyer's broker? Absolutely, 100% yes. It is so helpful and so critical to navigating all these different things, even the bidding success. you mentioned, there's a dozen different reasons and a dozen different points at the process where you want someone on your side. And, you know, I can't say enough how helpful it is to have a buyer's broker and to have a really quality buyer's broker.
I think it's
So
essential to make it through some of
yeah,
these transactions. Otherwise, they're not happening. Yes,
yeah,
Michael.
Yeah, no, I think this is all right. I mean, you're talking right now, I think as I look at the slide, I mean, you're talking about, the offer and the negotiation part. So having a Victoria on your side, helping you understand that, it's not just the price that you're agreeing to, although that's a huge part of it, but also, what kind of contingencies do you have in your offer? Do you have a financing contingency, right? I mean, that means that if you don't get your financing, you get your 10% deposit back. Um, there might be some other wrinkles. Maybe there's something that you want in the apartment to remain. Maybe you need to clarify that something needs to be changed in the apartment, that there's a repair that you might want to make sure is done.
Seller may want
Victoria,
to stay in the apartment for 2 weeks after the closing.
you just gotta like work it out. And,
Yeah.
otherwise you're on your own. If you don't have a broker representing you, you're on your own. You're trying to figure it out with the seller's agent. It's a little tougher, but that's the stage that we're talking about. It's like, how do you get to terms? Because the lawyers are gonna get a deal sheet. I don't know if it's like the next slide, but like, the
No, we
lawyers are
go
gonna get a
from offer terms to getting into contract.
contract. Okay, so, the you want everything agreed to. That are the big items. And then the lawyers take the terms that are set forth in a deal sheet and we reduce that to a contract. This is not like rocket science in that we're not reinventing every deal with a different contract. The lawyers use the same contracts. We know what to look for. And then we enter into even more important for co-ops and condos, we have due diligence that we have to do. So, really quickly, like, yes, the contract needs to protect you as a buyer. Yes, you need to understand that the seller can sell you this apartment free of clear of any liens or mortgages or problems. But you're also buying into a co-op and a condo. You need to know what you're dealing with. And it's a huge part of this process. And you got to know what the maintenance is like. You got to know what the common charges are like. You got to know if there's an assessment. You got to know if this building constantly raising common charges or assessments. You got to know if the maintenance is stable or not. And that's a big part of a lawyer's job in this stage. Do you want to go forward? Do you want to sign this contract or not? Like, you've got some time. The seller's agent is gonna and the seller's team are gonna put some pressure on you depending upon the market, but that could take weeks, and you have the option not to sign that contract until you're comfortable. And that's kind of like what a lawyer's job is at this stage. And then, like, assuming that the building, you're cool with the building, you're cool with the contract, you understand the that the maintenance is and the real estate taxes are stable if it's a condo. Like, you understand the finances, you understand the budget, you understand how your loan is going to work, you understand that you have a financing contingency, and that you've got 30 days to get that financing like lined up. You like feel like you really understand that your lawyer hopefully is like locked in and devoted to you understanding that process. At that point, it's time to sign the contract and give your 10% deposit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And just to, I keep jumping in to hype up everyone else here, it seems. But
Oh,
again, listening to Michael, it does remind me another thing that I'll talk to people about is finding the right lawyer is really key. You want to find someone who knows what they're doing, who is going to do the right due diligence, who's going to put the contract together right. And I'll tell people it's sort of like finding the right surgeon. You don't want to put it in just anyone's hands. You want the expert. You want You also don't want to go to the corner super budget guy or whatever. Like if you got to pay a couple bucks for really quality legal advice, that's a great place to put some money. So you want to find the right lawyer. You want to find someone who's going to do the job, someone who's going to consult with you, someone who you can understand and have a conversation with. Super critical.
And at the end of the day, though, it's not that like the price in lawyer, like I really think like this is where like you're getting the bang for your buck because people are like, oh, well, he's $500 more. I'm like, yeah, but like that's not that much in how in the grand scheme of things. And if somebody's encouraging you to go with the person that's 500 more bucks because they had a great experience, and they know that they're going to do a job to a certain level versus the person that's $500 that you don't have a referral from that you found on the internet, like that, it's a big gamble. Is not worth the $500 in the long run, in my opinion. And that's what the same thing I say about, any of these things. It's like, who do you want to do? You say surgeon, but I'm like, who do you want to do plastic surgery on your face forever? Like, like that's the like you're gonna if the plastic surgery is on your face and everybody's gonna look at it every day, you are going to make sure you're really intentional about who you pick to do that. Up and hear somebody else. I love the late rollers. And so I think that that's how you have to frame it. This is a lot of money. If you're buying $1 million piece of property, why would you gamble and try to save $500 for, because it's stressful because you're worried about how much money you're already spending. But don't cut corners now. Cut corners, when you're deciding between the IKEA kitchen and the guy off the back of the truck kitchen, those kind of things. But I would say
And
that
I would add too, Vic, like there's, you know, like a whole crop of lawyers who do residential real estate as like a side hustle.
yeah.
Like those guys are doing litigation, they're doing, trust and estates, they're doing like lots of stuff. And this is like an area where they can, the paralegal can do it on the side. I don't know. Those guys can go a little cheaper because like this, that works as in part of their like business plan. They can do it that way. And that's just, you just don't want that experience. I'm
You
telling
don't,
you,
because they bring a different
sucks
kind of
so bad.
energy. Yeah, they're
Yep.
bringing a different kind of energy. When you're like in litigation, like you're a pit bull. That's not the kind of energy you want to bring to a sales deal. And I mean, that's what's happening with this deal that I have in Red Hook right now. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like all he is doing is like stressing everybody out and being argumentative. And like he could say the same thing that he's saying, but nicely. Like it's not he just just like you can tell that he's not a pro. You want pros only. Like that is like your should be your motto, pros only. It's
Love it.
it's my motto for life. People are like, oh, did you do the thing? I'm like, no, I don't do that. Pros only. Like we do it this way, like I'm not gonna do something in a way that's going to not let me like, oh, are you gonna go if I was going to like with the Governor's Island, they have or they used to be on Governor's Island. Gov Ball's now what on Randall's Island. Say I did that. Would I be like going as a person of my caliber to the GA and hanging out with the 20-year-olds and like, all the thing like, oh no, I've aged enough that I realize I want the comforts of knowing that like this is not going to be rocky and untethered and I might get stampeded on because that's what happened last year. Like you want to go with the like secure, this is a serious transaction decision. I mean, that's just like
Cool.
hands down, right?
Love it.
Pros only, guys.
Proposing.
It applies to everything, not just real estate.
All right.
Okay,
So
so you're
where
getting
are we
into
now? We've
contract.
got,
We're getting into contract. You guys just
yeah.
take it away. This is your show.
Okay. So we're getting into contract. What's next though?
Oh my God, you're in contract. You're getting into
We're in
contract.
contract.
Yeah, when you go from getting into contract, you're in contract. So you get into
Okay.
contract. You're talking about getting into
Okay.
contract.
We're in
Then you get
contract.
right to
So I'm going to I'll talk, only got a couple more minutes. So we gotta like talk, gotta frame this. So now you're in contract. Um, and typically this next phase is like the lawyer is in charge of ordering a title report if it's a condo, ordering a lien search if it's a co-op. We're going to like research the property and start to flesh out any issues or any judgments or liens or problems that the apartment might have or house might have legally. But then, more important, you as the buyer, you go to John, assuming that John is your mortgage guy. You guys got to get a loan. You've got 30 days to get that loan. Typically, that's how long your financing contingency lasts. So John, why don't you give them like a little snapshot of like what these next 30 days are about?
Sure. So, in my world, one of the other nice things about the broker world is that we are much, 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 much faster. And for me, I also like to tackle as many big rocks up front as I can because I'm not going to wait until day 28 to get you your approval. Um, I will have answers for you within 2, 3, 4 days, and then we'll have the appraisal. We'll have the a second look at everything, a tidying up of everything in 2 weeks. Uh, I do not like leaving risk outstanding. I like to knock it all out, get all of the answers quickly. So what happens is you sign contracts. Usually in the contract, there's going to be 5 days to make application. Uh, so you get all of your bank statements, pay stubs, tax returns, whatever other documents over to me. I get that in front of the reviewers. They make sure that it aligns with the rules of that type of loan, and that's the underwriting process. And then they give you a commitment letter, which is basically the bank or the lending institution saying, we are committing to lend this money to you. And then it will have a second half that'll say contingent on XYZ happening. And that's where it'll say contingent on an appraisal coming in okay, contingent on the title report coming in okay. All these different pieces that they'll pull apart. There's usually a couple of follow-up questions. They'll say, based on the bank statements, we have these follow-up questions. Based on the tax returns, we have these follow-up questions. So within the first couple of days, we get the first look at everything. We get that initial read back, and then I walk with you through, here's what they're asking about. Here's the paperwork we need to move it to the next step. And then we go back and forth with the reviewers. We get some paperwork. They look at it. They ask for any follow-up. We get follow-up paperwork. They review it. And then we winnow it down until everybody's happy and they say, you're in good shape. And then that's the non-contingent commitment letter that then you use to satisfy your mortgage contingencies. And then it's a matter of wrapping up the final pieces to head towards closing. Depending on the type of property, that might be your board process in a co-op. That might be knocking out any title contingencies. That might be figuring out dates for different parties, all that sort of stuff. But we basically will review the loan nice and quickly to get you on to the rest of it as fast as possible. And I'll handhold you through all of it so that you don't have to worry if they're asking some question. Does that mean, do they really like me or not? We'll get you through to the other side.
Right, right. So remember, the going into contract for a co-op is first order of business, get that loan, but at the same time, you're working with Victoria to put that board package together. So there's two contingencies going on. One is you got to get the loan, you satisfy the loan. That becomes the last piece of the puzzle for the board package. Board package gets submitted. You hopefully get approved. You've satisfied both parts of your both contingencies. Then you're ready to close. We haven't really talked about closing costs. We should just briefly mention that. Like you have co-op has a lot less fees than condo and houses. They have title insurance, mortgage insurance. They have mortgage tax. Co-ops don't have that, which is fabulous for that. So there's a difference between buying a co-op and buying a condo in terms of closing costs or buying a house. So just make sure that you understand that going in. But now that we're at the end of our transaction, that's when we sit down at the table. You give balance of your proceeds. You get your loan proceeds, and you pay the balance of the purchase price. And do an inspection beforehand. Make sure that the apartment is or the house is in good condition. And then if everything is in order, we close.
Yeah. And on the topic of the closing costs and the board process, all that sort of stuff, we're glossing over a couple of things here that, depending on what you're doing, will be critical or not. And so this is again where I go back to lean on your team of experts for your specific scenario, because if you're doing a co-op, we'll spend a ton of time talking about the board process and the recognition agreements, and Victoria will walk you through letters and all of the fun stuff and the pluses and minuses. Regardless of what type you're doing, I'll walk through all of the closing costs at a pretty great depth with you, and what implications are of different property types, all that sort of stuff. Um, so we're giving a very light touch to a lot of these topics here, but for each individual, you'll ask lots of questions. We'll give you lots of answers.
Yeah, if you're joining us late, what I usually say at the top of this is an overview of what happens. There's no way we could talk in an hour about everything that happens in a transaction that we would want to communicate to you. And that's why we're prepping you now for a nice overview. And then at each step of the way, you're going to get an in-depth conversation with each of us about what's expected. That's what I said. Expectations, boundaries, understanding, what is happening is going to make you feel more confident and ease your stress level, because we want to make this a positive experience. It's very exciting, like becoming a real homeowner and stakeholder in New York City. A lot of people dream it, and if you can make it happen.
Yeah.
And there's lots of ways you can make it happen. So the first thing, I think that a lot of people, I have another mortgage broker I work with all the time. I'm going to steal what they say, which is a lot of people count themselves out, and don't count yourself out until you talk to a mortgage professional. And they and myself can also give you tips on how to get to that goal. Maybe they see something, they can say, you know what, this is all you need to do. And maybe they'll probably make it sound a lot easier than it is, but than to do that thing. But you can do it. And especially if you know what you're trying to accomplish. And you don't have to buy. The other thing I always tell people is, like, you don't need to buy your dream home first. Get your foot in the door, get a starter apartment, grow into the next thing. But the longer you stay out of the market, they keep moving the goalpost. Stop going for the goalpost that they keep moving. Go for the goalpost that's right in front of you now, get what you can, and then you can get to the bigger, better thing in the future. So
The other nice thing too about talking to a team of experts, and again, we touched on a couple of different topics here, but if you're buying a three-family, you don't really need to know the intricacies of a co-op. And vice versa. If you're buying a co-op, you don't really need to know the intricacies of the shifts in state and city expenses between a 3 and a 4-family home at different price points. It doesn't, and if you start trying to dig into everything all on your own, whatever, you can get lost down all sorts of different rabbit holes that just frankly don't particularly matter to you. So having a team of experts and having people that you can bounce things off of and learn from and ask your questions of, who really do know all of these different things, whichever bucket you're fitting into and whichever avenue you're walking down, is tremendous. Makes a huge world of difference.
I
Cool.
agree. Okay, we did it, guys.
All right, nice
A lot of
job.
information. Sorry for whoever had Zoom problems. But we got through a lot of information. Hopefully, you feel like you understand this process and the next steps. But please, the first step is calling one of us and having a personal one-on-one conversation and understanding what your specific scenario is. I'm going to send you some resources, all of our contact information, and a link to just book a meeting. Please take advantage of that. This is really valuable information, and so take advantage of having it available to you. And then, I'll send you a recording. I'll send you our ebook. We can get you set up in Basecamp. We have a project management tool that has a library of resources for people. We are rich in value. And so please, that's why I created this company and why I do this, because I want to feel like I'm providing value for people. Because I think there's a lot of gatekeeping around information for real estate, and let's just open up the walls. Let's see what's behind it. We don't need to be scared, using scare tactics to get people to through this process. So, okay. So we'll follow up. I want to thank everybody. Thanks, guys. Thanks, John.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Vic. Thanks,
Thanks,
John.
everyone.
Thank you for everything, buddy.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
always a
Thanks,
pleasure.
Vic.
Bye, guys. Stop the recording.